Hello and welcome to yet another edition of Yes 101's Visual Radio. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Nithmini De Silva.
And I'm Tilakaratna. First, let's take a look at your headlines.
Newsfirst headline.
Cabinet greenlights proposal for constitutional amendment. Sapagaskanda oil refinery to become separate state enterprise. India and Sri Lanka failed to reach deal on fee payments for RuPay transactions. Taiwan Central Bank chief says inflation will be above 2% this year but lower than 2023. And in sports, it's football. Messi sidelined for Argentina friendliness with injury.
Now moving on to the news in detail. The Cabinet of Ministers has approved a proposal to draft a constitutional amendment to change the general electoral process. The proposal was put forward by Minister of Justice, Prison Affairs and Constitutional Reforms, Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa. A Cabinet subcommittee was also appointed to submit recommendations to the Cabinet of Ministers following the consultation of party leaders represented in Parliament and other stakeholders. The proposal was made for 160 of 225 MPs in Parliament to be elected by an electorate, and the remaining 65 would be chosen proportionally either at national or provincial level. Taking into consideration the recommendations made by the Cabinet Subcommittee chaired by the Prime Minister, the amendments will be drafted.
Meanwhile, the Cabinet has also approved a proposal for the removal of the Sapagaskanda oil refinery from the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation. Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara presented the proposal to the Cabinet yesterday. Accordingly, the Sapagaskanda oil refinery will be established as a separate state enterprise. According to the Cabinet, the move is being made to attract local and foreign private investments.
Moving on to other local news. Indian media reported that India and Sri Lanka have failed to reach an agreement for RuPay transactions due to the inability of Indian and Sri Lankan banks to come to an agreement on fee payments for transactions using the RuPay cards. The Indian government proposed to scale up digital payment connectivity with Sri Lanka by introducing mutually acceptable RuPay card services. This would be an extension of UPI services that have already been launched in the island nation, facilitating mobile-based payment and settlement of transactions. According to government officials aware of the development, although there are no active engagements for RuPay technology for Sri Lanka through NIPL, which is the NPCI International Payments Limited, at this point of time, central banks on both sides are engaged to see that this service is also soon available in Sri Lanka, facilitating the use of RuPay cards for shopping and withdrawing of cash from ATMs in both the countries. However, talks on introduction of RuPay cards in Sri Lanka are facing some hurdles over the issue of commissions that banks charge for facilitating digital transaction using a branded payment system.
International news.
And in international news, Taiwan's central bank chief says Taiwan's consumer price index, which is the CPI and core CPI, will be above 2% this year due to a higher food price and a possible electricity price increase. However, he said it will be still lower than last year. His comments came after he said last week that the central bank would probably not cut interest rates before June, as it may be unnecessary. As it may be necessary to raise the 2024 inflation forecast because of rising consumer prices.
Sports news.
Argentina captain Lionel Messi is out of this month's friendlies in the United States due to a hamstring injury. The country's football association said the 36-year-old forward missed Inter Miami's Major League Soccer game at DC United on Saturday after coming off injured in their midweek Champions League win against Nashville. Argentina will face El Salvador on Friday at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia before playing Costa Rica 4 days later at the Los Angeles Coliseum. And that's a wrap of this edition of Yes 101's Visual Radio. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Nithmini De Silva.
And I'm Tilakaratna. Stay tuned for the evening's edition.